Hello, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with this session. Good morning. I am going to briefly introduce Heather Nichols, New Engine, our speaker today. Heather Nichols is the Chief Revenue Officer at New Engine, where she leads enterprise growth strategy and oversees the Acorn Creator Suite, an industry-leading creator marketing solution that drives measurable impact across the digital landscape. Under Heather's leadership, the Acorn Creator Suite is redefining the role of creators in marketing, seamlessly integrating influencer partnerships, UGC, paid social, and omni-channel media into a single performance-driven solution. It's where authentic storytelling meets real business results. A longtime champion of the creator economy, Heather believes creators are the next generation of brand builders, able to foster connection, inspire action, and help brands show up in ways that truly resonate. As a woman who has worked in ad tech and a mom in leadership, Heather understands the importance of creating space for balance, mentorship, and inclusive growth. She's passionate about supporting other women in the industry and building environments where diverse teams can thrive. Prior to New Engine, Heather served as VP of Business Development at Collective Bias, now Inmar, and led U.S. CPG partnerships at Augury. She has held board leadership roles with Project Teacher and Champions for Kids, served as faculty member for the Path to Purchase Institute, and now dedicates her time and energy to supporting youth mental health advocacy. At her core, Heather is a builder of brands, teams, and pathways for a more connected and impactful future in marketing. Let's welcome Heather.
Good morning. I think it's still morning, right? It's not afternoon yet. So, content creator marketing in action. A ballerina turned rancher who milks cows by hand and generates 1 million views. A dairy farmer who shows us how to keep his cows cool in the heat. And a millennial grain farmer who compares pesticides to dry shampoo. From field work into viral content. That's the power of creator content to drive not hype, but outcomes, business outcomes. So as she mentioned, my name is Heather Nichols. I'm the CRO of New Engine. We're a digital marketing agency that specializes in creator, affiliate, influencer content, full funnel strategies to drive action and conversion for your business objectives. Today we're going to talk about, in this session, creator marketing strategies that bridge the full funnel, top of funnel awareness all the way down to lower funnel conversion. And again, it's about measurable outcomes and how you can apply that to your media brands, your agri brands, and if you have any questions at the end of the session, I'm here to help. So why creator marketing? I think, many people think of this space still as influencer marketing. I'll tell you, I started in this space over a decade ago, and it was all about mommy bloggers. What was influencer marketing was really limited to that. The reason there's been this big transition to creator marketing is influencer marketing is really transactional, right? When you think of influencer marketing, you think of a one-sided, maybe even platform-specific. Creator marketing is now broader than social media platforms. It's not walled gardens of content. We're talking about creators that are actually media empires all onto their own. They're enterprises. They're not just showing their content in the social media platforms. They have podcasts, they have subscriptions, they have email, they have streaming content. They're everywhere. And creator content is a community connector. It really bridges the gap from top to bottom funnel. In fact, creator marketing is growing rapidly to about a $21 billion industry. And it's not slowing down. As many of you know, I see a lot of young faces out here, so I'm very, very aware that many of you are in this space. Influencer marketing a few years ago was returning about $5 for every dollar invested. Creator marketing now is showing over a $6 return on ad spend for every dollar. And this stat, this bottom one, has been a part of the lexicon for a long time. 74% of people say they're influenced to make a decision or a purchase based on influencer creator marketing, creator content. I think of it as the golden age of word-of-mouth marketing and just how it's evolved over time. But really, creator marketing is an opportunity for you to think about modernizing your marketing strategies and owning channels that are omni-channel, platform agnostic. So creators, not just being influencers, they're telling a story. They're connecting with their audience. They're building trust, credibility, authenticity. They're creating more than just a viral moment. They're building your brand equity and long-term value. And really, where the space is headed, and many of you may already know this, is micro, nano influencers. And just to kind of give you a broad understanding, you have your nano, micro influencers, your power middles, your mega, your macro. And sometimes those are social media celebrities, and sometimes those are the real celebrities. A little plug, I did get to do a platform with Travis Kelce, but that was before Tay-Tay. So that's your real celebrity. But we also have those influencer celebrities. And they're creating cultural perspectives, a cultural moment. Sometimes they're doing it on the backbone of something that went viral, and sometimes they're creating the trends themselves. But it's really storytelling based in authenticity, and that's what really drives action, the emotional connectivity from the creator content. And they're creating content that's very platform native. So even if you're thinking about micro-influencers that are very niche and have a very niche audience, they are very aware of their audience and the segmentation of their audience, and they will create different types of content, even within that platform, that speaks to different demographics. Every type of trend, every type of content can really be segmented out even in a niche or micro-influencer platform. And it's relatable voices. They know that their audiences are engaging because they see their lives mirrored in them. They're reducing friction, they're creating something that's not just aspirational, but attainable, and they're taking you on a journey with them. And so they're engaged. And I gotta tell you, brands have for so long, and maybe many of you still believe this, think that they are telling creators who they are and building briefs and strategies to tell the creators how to activate. Really smart brands are recognizing that the audiences are telling them who they are. They're engaging with the content. They're having conversations with each other and with the authors to say who they are, how they're using the brands, how they're thinking of these brands and influencing their lives. So I think there is still a perspective out there where brands are still gripping tightly to brand control, their brand Bible, if you will. And the moment their brand name entered the social media platforms, it became the wild, wild west for them. They really did essentially lose control, right? So your success in this space is really about embracing and enhancing the voice of your brand through your audiences and letting go a bit. And really just being brave, taking some small risks, recognizing things sometimes are just very short-lived. They're bursts of virality. And then there's other trends that are more evergreen, and we'll get into that in a minute. But it's really about story propelling action. You can have awareness, you can have massive following, you can have people influencing transactionally, but if you don't connect that with engagement, you'll never have action. And what we want to drive is action and outcomes that are accountable and measurable. So at New Engine, we attempt creators successfully through 4 different really avenues. We have creator marketing, as I'm discussing with you today, that's really platform agnostic, omni-channel. Influencer marketing, which is more about that push, that promotional push, that moment to drive a purchase or an action. Affiliate, many of you are probably familiar with affiliate. Affiliate back in the day was all like maybe a coupon approach to influencer marketing. There's still promo codes and links, but now affiliate, the mass retailers, the big guys, they're looking at affiliate as more of a hybrid approach, which is more premium content, quality life content with that affiliate mechanism, how you drive conversion. A link, a last click attribution, unfortunately, is still a view on that. But we know the consumer, your audience journey, 1,000 touch points, right? And then we also work in the space of studio. We recently acquired a studio UGC out in LA, Manhattan Beach, and where they were driving tremendous success is taking UGC, user-generated content, and taking it out of just the hands of your everyday creator and influencer and creating a more polished type approach. So for those brands that are still tightly controlling the script, their brand Bible, their quality assurance. We can do that in a way that looks very much like Creator out in the wild, but really is developed in a studio. And I'll show you some more examples of that. But I think in some of these cases, you'd have a hard time deciphering without the label if it was Creator or studio produced. But all of it is based foundationally in UGC, user-generated content. I really like the one of the gal with the Coke can. That was a Creator marketer. She did a fabulous job. These can be really hi-fi produced assets, or they can be what I call lo-fi, that more granular, raw approach, which is purposeful. But either way, you'd be hard-pressed to decide if one was produced in a studio based on today's tools and resources, and we'll touch on AI here in a minute. But it's all fun, and it's all very engaging, and it's a great space to be in. So Creator strategy through the funnel. So we talk top of funnel, we talk mid funnel, and lower funnel. Top of funnel is driving that awareness, you're building trust, you're building conversation and attention. So it's driven by hooks typically. If anyone doesn't know what a hook is what is at the beginning of a piece of Creator content that keeps someone from scrolling, doom scrolling, as I tell my children. I have children ages 18 to 25. See a lot of doom scrolling under my roof. But it's what keeps them there for longer than that first 3 seconds, right? That really keeps them engaged. Mid-funnel, this is where I talk about Creator content being the actual bridge from discovery to purchase. It's the great connector, if you will. This is where you're driving conversation, you're building education, you're building trust more meaningfully. You're going to see conversations, participation in the comments. You're going to see that multi-channel engagement if that Creator content leaves the TikTok platform and we repurpose it and put it out into CTV and streaming. They're still going to engage. They're still going to view the content. Your brand messaging is having consistency and multiple touch points. And then there's the bottom of funnel. And this is where we're really driving that conversion and that action. Having call to actions, having different iterations, attaching promotional, limited time offers, showing the journey maybe in retail or out in the field, wherever that action you're looking for to take place. This is that bottom funnel. This is where the accountability for growth comes to play and where measurement is your key to success. I'd like to say that we need to think broader about following and reach. People often ask me, what metrics matter through the full funnel? I don't like impressions. I don't like following. I think that's a very antiquated way of looking at it. In fact, back in the day, we used to call it spray and pray. I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard of that before, but you spray the impressions and you pray you find your audience and that they engage or they convert. Impressions and following and reach doesn't matter if there's not an engagement and action tied to it. It's purposeless, right? I think what you really need to recognize in this environment with these empires, these enterprises of Creator marketers, is that the content is being distributed elsewhere. We say content is king, distribution is queen. We're taking that content, we're putting it in display, we're putting it in mobile, putting it in CTV, we're showing up in emails. Sometimes it's signage in store, out in the field, it's print ads. It's living everywhere. We negotiate for usage rights and perpetuity. You need to think outside of, it's a top funnel play strategy. It's a bottom funnel strategy. In fact, if you talk to Fortune 500 companies, many of them have wildly different perspectives of the place of Creator marketing. Some of them believe it's a brand-only tactic, and many of them believe it's a bottom funnel tactic only. So it's basically like the philosopher behind the strategy, and how do you broaden the perspective, open the aperture of how Creator marketing can drive action. So let's talk about meeting your audience where they're at in this agnostic omni-channel approach with your Creator content. I'm sure many of you start your day, much like I can do, grabbing your phone in the morning, going through your Instagram feed. You come to your afternoon, your lunch, you're then on your phone, you're in your apps, you're finding those mobile display ads. Creator content can live there too. Then you find yourself getting closer to the end of day, and maybe you're diving into more of your industry articles on your desktop. You're gonna find those display ads, those banner ads. That can hold and contain and retain creator content that's powerful. Again, continuity of messaging across multiple touch points, building your brand equity outside of the platform. And then you can go into evening time and you're streaming your favorite shows through CTV. We started putting creator content in CTV ad placements back in January of 2023. We were very fortunate to be the first influencer agency on the Walmart Connect, the DSP for Walmart. And it was really exciting to see the return on ad spend. If you know about the cost of impressions through different types of inventory, CTV is very expensive. It can be $20 plus, where a display or mobile ad can be $5 to $7. So to see a return on ad spend for CTV and to actually challenge people to think of creator content outside of the walled gardens just 2.5 years ago was a bold new idea. In fact, I was visiting with the CMO of a large entertainment corporation, and I asked him, are you putting creator content in CTV placements? And it was not even on the horizon, and it was a look at me like, what are you talking about? And that wasn't too long ago. But it was a lot of labor. It was work intensive, and we're going to talk about AI and how we alleviate that later. But we were looking for how do you take those vertical videos in TikTok and you broaden them and make them horizon, and you put them in CTV placements, horizontal. So they're very powerful in that space because it's really about ad fatigue right now. More and more people are moving to what I call AVOD, advertiser video on demand, versus SVOD, subscriber video on demand. I don't know if anybody keeps track of how many subscriptions they have to all these different streaming platforms. It adds up quickly. So when you move more and more to advertiser video on demand, you're going to have more and more inventory to cash in on, right? And with that comes the economies of that. And with that comes consumer fatigue and ad fatigue. So if you think about the power of creator content, in one of these placements, you're talking about engagement that stops the skip, right? And then, of course, many head of household individuals in here, I'm sure. A lot of us are getting through our to-do list at night. So some of those actions you're looking, whether it's a media action, a educational action, or an actual purchase, a lot of us are doing that at night, whether it's on our desktop or our mobile phone through the actual points of conversion. Maybe it's Shopify, maybe it's a retailer page. Creator content should live in those brand pages and those PDP pages. Again, continuity, touchstone, messaging, memorable. It all works, full cycle. Meeting your audience where they're at. And what we've discovered, when you control for variables in one campaign flight, control for the media spend, control for the influencers and the cost of the influencers versus the cost of branded assets, control for frequency, that means how often that content is viewed by that same audience member, control for day and time you're serving that content and the places you're serving it. What we have found time and time again is that creator content outperforms branded assets alone 17 times over. It resonates. It's credible. It's trustworthy. It's someone mirroring someone else. Okay, so let's talk about AI. I think there's been some AI sessions already, right? I was just challenged this weekend by someone. We were out at the lake with our family, and they're like, ooh, you're in marketing. AI is going to take it all, aren't they? AI, we're not afraid. We should all be embracing it. Yes, it's going places we don't know yet, and yes, it's going rapidly. We don't know what we don't know yet, but AI is really a tool. And as we've introduced this to our teams, we've talked about this. Maybe I'm showing my age when I say this, but I'm like, think of it as a calculator instead of doing long-form math with a pencil. This is a tool, and what we're finding with creators is it's really democratizing the space. You've had creators for a long time that have been able to do big bodies of work with teams of people and very expensive resources, right? Cameras, PR, production team, editing team, all of these things. AI is now putting that same power into the micro, nano, small reach influencers so that they can also have work streams and volume and velocity of content to compete with those macro mega celebrities. And what that means for any of you investing budget in creator marketing is efficiencies of those dollars spent. One of the examples I like about how this happens in real life, a couple years ago, we had an influencer, a creator, that a very famous yogurt brand wanted to use. Actually, they wanted a volume of creators in this space, and they had a set budget, and we were charged through managed service to go out and recruit creators for this opportunity. Now, obviously, with a set budget, we want to maximize their investment, so we look at emerging voices all the time and recruit creators all the time based on that. We found this new person, new voice, TikTok, and you guys all know following there really doesn't matter because the algorithm brings you content of people you don't even follow. We found him, he produced this content, it was amazing. He did a great job. The yogurt company was thrilled. In fact, a couple weeks after the campaign went live for back to school, I'm sitting in my living room watching the Today Show, having my coffee, because yes, I'm 50, I do that. And sure enough, there he is on the Today Show, just killing it. And he was somebody that was pretty well unknown a few weeks prior. Now, that wasn't all due to us. Other people were discovering him at the same time too, right? So this yogurt company, okay, we want to invest in this person again. We want to do holiday. Well, guess what? Jeremy now has a PR agent, a legal team, an entertainment team. He has all sorts of resources, and the cost of one Jeremy equals today the cost of 10 Jeremys previously. So when you think about AI and the efficacy of your spends and your investments to do what you need to do through creator marketing strategies, you should think of this as a superpower, a growth engine. And I think that, we're just going to see it continue to proliferate. These are some great stats showing that. The other thing that you want to think about is how to use AI and what phases of your work stream. So we're looking at AI both as generating content and predictive, helping us with insights and analytics and work streams and workflows. It starts with briefing and strategy. And let me just tell you, if I can create an AI chat GPT buddy or an AI agent on my layover at an airport at my age, everybody can. And so that's pretty much what we're doing under the roof over at New Engine is we're challenging our own workforce to think about how they allow themselves more time to think more strategically and produce more and do more, and giving them the freedom to come to us with those ideas and those opportunities. So briefing and strategy, we have what we call the Baker Buddy. It's built on the knowledge base of sequential learnings we've gathered over 11 years in business. Sequential learnings can't be bought overnight in this space. That's something you earn. So when you have a knowledge base for a chat GPT that's built on historical performance, proven performance, insights across the full spectrum of influencers of following, different types of content, category specific, content specific, and then you go to it and you ask it to help you build a tactical strategy, that takes a lot of the human component time of gathering, synthesizing, and aggregating information. It does not mean we're replacing the creativity of the people behind the briefing and the strategy, the creativity that builds the prompts. It doesn't mean we're replacing the wisdom of the human that's part of that client-facing strategy build. It also helps us bring volume of copywriting. So iterations, how do we tweak, how do we optimize? Again, starts with a person, starts with the credibility of voice. Culture does not come from AI. People build culture. AI can replicate it, right? And then it also can help us with the production editing, as I mentioned earlier. Like, how do you take a space that was vertical video and broaden it to horizontal? AI can fill in the background gaps. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. Design, give us different iterations of the same type of vibrant content that the creator brought to the table. Maybe we changed some color in the background. And then creative insights, so powerful to understand what content's working in what places, and for AI to, again, synthesize that, aggregate that, and inform decisions for renewals, expansions, incremental budget. So this is an example of that Photoshop Firefly AI tool doing that broadening of the background from vertical, what was originally vertical, to horizontal. I can't tell a difference. Not sure if you can, but I cannot. And so it really is, we need to think of it as a growth engine. This is a lot of examples from our UGC studio where we've applied AI. Some of this is some actual stock photography, brand assets, and a lot of this is AI generated. The rallies background, that's AI generated behind the gal eating the the food, and I don't have my readers on. I can't remember. I think that's like a cherry pop top turnover. So a lot of different iterations from these same original pieces of content or original imagery that the AI generated, and then we just, created multiple iterations of it. It is streamlining production. It does bring quality. It has that more hi-fi feeling to it. It's not as raw. It's not as messy. But that's the human nature, too, that drives engagement and purchase. So there's a place and time for each of it. What I wanted to show you is some examples of our content that Colgate Palmolive on the left there. I was actually in the LA studio the day they were taking the pictures with the right lighting and the right sizing, and then they put the AI to work, and they created all this great background and this incredible, vibrant environment. On the right there, I like to call it Human Plus. We're calling it Human Plus. That's an actual creator, and then how do we plus up that space with some AI? If you look in the platforms, they are, many of them requiring an AI label. In fact, YouTube just came out a couple weeks ago and said it would penalize monetization if they saw what we call AI slop. It's pretty identifiable by repetitive type content, or the face doesn't follow the motions. It doesn't resonate as real. You can create humans now, but if it's really engaging, there's going to be a disconnect there of wisdom, of truth, of emotional intelligence. I'm going to play this video. I think this is a really great breakdown of how you can tell out in the platforms what is AI and what is not. Again, all platforms outside of X and Snapchat are requiring the AI labels, and they are penalizing an algorithm if AI slop is identified, and that ultimately hurts you as a brand, and it hurts the creator. Before I play that, one other anecdote. We are actually seeing very large Fortune 500 companies. We work with brands like Unilever, SC Johnson, 3M, General Mills, Mondelez, and I won't say who, but some of them are coming to us and requiring through SOWs and MSAs right now that no AI will be applied. And we're looking at business models of what's the right ratio of AI content to non-AI content. All of that means is truth in advertising, right? We've seen through FTC, we've seen through lots of different guidelines and policy about how we follow the rules and how we show up. That's going to continue to evolve. But what we just need to remember is that humans and cultural moments, they're more tribal. It comes from a human element. Oh, my apologies. There we go.
Here's an interesting demo. I hate it because it's really creepy, but it's helpful. The original video of me is on the top, and down there is my evil twin, copying my every move. I don't like it at all. The comparison makes it obvious. Let's look closer at skin, hair, teeth, and eyes, even if it makes me really self-conscious. I have okay skin, but the AI skin is way too smooth, like I'm wearing a ton of bad makeup. It lost its definition of vitality, and now I'm just an orange blob. The hair is a sludgy mess, losing detail and definition, and just looking quite generic. And hey, perfect teeth. Finally, I've been waiting my whole life for that, but they shift around through the video, and the AI is more likely to show the teeth when I wouldn't. Then finally, those eyes, man, something's just off. They're too dark in the middle, too light in size, they just look like plastic. But you won't see a side by side normally, because AI people don't exist. But the characteristics are the same. Follow me for more AI spotting tips.
I think we all know how we're spotting AI in written content, right? The M-dashes are dying. Nobody wants to be accused of having that out there. But I think this is helpful. Hold on. Let me get my readers down and get myself out of here. Why won't that go? There we go. Okay, so some case studies. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Olipop. It had a big acquisition recently. How do we take creator strategies and actually produce outcomes that are meaningful? We start with a campaign objective. We get the brand. We understand what their business objective is, and then we build across platforms and tactics that combined make the strategy cohesive based on the type of creators, the type of content, the platforms, the media distribution, and the targeted audience. This campaign, you can see the creator did a great job with vibrant colors, activity, engagement. There was music, and that campaign delivered 125% to goal, 126% to goal on engagements. And that's incredible. Like that on scale, that's actions that matter. Here's a more familiar brand, I'm sure, again, at a massive retailer. This, I think, is important to think about from your perspective of innovation. How are you talking about education and innovation? Or if you are in the space of launching products or new SKUs, how you go about that, what platforms you're using, where you're driving destination of those creators, where are you sending them to for that action, and what is the audience, and how are you going to prove out incrementality, how are you going to incite trial for repeat purchase. Again, this one brought 175% to goal. That's incredible on engagements, but more importantly, there's your actual incremental lift on Hero and Halo. Hero is the main SKU that we were advertising for. The Halo is the portfolio around it that ended up in the cart as well. The ROAS represents that creator content and that digital media inventory on that retail media space where they actually are measuring the POS and the return on ad spend based on that creator content in that display, mobile or CTV. $33 is incredible. That is insane. So again, accountable growth, measurement that matters. So let's talk about trends and types of content. There's a lot of trends out there. It can be overwhelming, the different ways you can take your content and develop your brand and your brand equity. There's the evergreen approach. This is the content that is pretty enduring. You're going to see some of these same type of content structures over and over again, like get ready with me, a day in the life, a day in the life of a dairy farmer, get ready with me as I go out to the farm. All of these type of trends are applicable across all types of vertical and industries. They say they're long-term, they're pretty much Teflon. You'll see them continue. Then there's the time-specific. These are some of my very favorite. They reflect a cultural moment, if you will. One of the things I think of is, do you remember the guy on the skateboarder with the ocean spray? Did anybody remember seeing that at a time? And he was playing that Fleetwood Mac Dreams, and you saw a lot of parodies and a lot of people building off that trend. That was a time and a place, and it played on nostalgia, right? So that's a really good example. Micro, those are those short-lived, platform-specific, but very driven for a niche audience. So a lot of education in there, very much specific to the audience following them. So you can still use some of those broader content trends, but really drill down and get surgical about who's viewing your content. Minimal investment, really exciting. Cyclical, yeah, you could say that's that Fleetwood Mac again. I think about the nostalgia factor again. Some of you are very young in this room. I have a 25-year-old child. They just went, young adult, they just went on a vacation and they took a 35 millimeter camera with them. I'm just like, okay. So the aesthetics on these platforms now are trying to, obviously replicate what we did, as my kid said, in the late 1900s, taking pictures with VHS or video with VHS and trying to give that same aesthetic on the platforms, right? So building on nostalgia, it's coming back around. We know trends always do, but you're going to see it more and more. There's a lot of stitches with Friends and other episodic TV from back in the day, music, that's some more examples of that. And then you have that momentary virality. How many of you are familiar with what happened at that Coldplay concert here recently? Pretty entertaining, that Kiss Cam. I don't know if you've been in TikTok or been on Instagram since then, but that has been parodied over and over again. If SNL was in season right now, I'm pretty sure that would be a hit sketch. So that's what we're talking about, moment virality. How do you take that moment and seize on it? You're going to see a lot of brands like in QSR, like Wendy's does it really well. The national parks are joining in. I don't know if you're following some of those national park accounts, but people are really capitalizing and being brave and taking risk. They don't all turn out the way you want them to, but when they do, They're fantastic. And what you're building is authenticity, collaboration, community with that audience. And that's what creator marketing is. It's collaboration. All right, now I want to show you guys some examples of that full funnel that's very specific to Agri. Again, top of funnel, general awareness. Here's that ballerina I mentioned at the top. A lot of ASMR, a lot of sound here, right? She gets millions of views. Her engagement is, 6 figures plus on liking it, but millions of views on her content, and it was a very organic start for her. I'm gonna stop it, but I'm sure you'll have access to this deck and can go back and watch the full video. And an effort of time. Then there's the mid-funnel. So what is he doing there? He's bringing innovation to his audience. He can do that in mid-funnel because he has trust and credibility, and he's introducing new ideas, and he's educating his audience, and it's really part of a day in the life trend as well. And then bottom funnel, Farm with Zoe. You guys go find her account on Farm Talk. You can find it, Farm Talk. She's doing incredible content that really resonates with the generation. She speaks the language, and she's that new generation of farmer, and she's doing all forms of this funnel of type of creator strategy. She's doing top level, humorous. That's how she really got known, with some humor videos, and she's doing a lot of education. But here's an example from her of where she's actually trying to drive conversion with a paid partnership.
Farmers all across the country are putting in long hours, spending a lot of money and energy to get this year's crop into the ground. We don't have much control over the weather, the markets, or when the next breakdown might happen, but we can control the products that we trust to keep our equipment moving. Every morning when we are fueling up the tractors, we are checking our oil. On this farm, we run Shell Rotel.
I'll let you guys watch the full thing later. But that is an example of Agri Brands, full funnel, top to bottom. So just to wrap up, creator strategies over influence, transactional. Creators can influence, but not all influencers are truly creators. So it doesn't matter where you are. I'm going to be a little punny here. Whether you're in the field, in the feed of the platforms, or at the checkout, you really should be growing and modernizing your strategies with the foundation of creator. It no longer is defining who or what influencer marketing is and should you spend on it. Now it's creator marketing as a channel, and it should be how much should you be investing in it. Thanks for your time. I'm open to questions if we have a couple minutes.
If there's any questions for Heather, go ahead.
Yeah, rally.
I got a question. You opened with the difference between a creator and an influencer. Can we get like an explicit difference between the two? I'm just, from my understanding, it was an influencer's kind of like an older term. Is that right?
It is more about being antiquated from a perception, but from an actual use, if you think about it, influencer being very one way, very transactional. They're not building a community. Creators are more about long-term relationships, collaboration, think brand ambassador, think multi-platform, agnostic to the social media platform. It's about taking that content out of the walled gardens and putting it in like media distribution, CTV. It's about creators being broader and bigger than just influencing with one piece of content and one platform. It's more of a relationship than it is a transactional approach to content. Great question, though. It's definitely something we've been grappling with for the last 2 years and getting that change, that switch. Well, thank you guys for your time. You've got my information. I really appreciate it. I'm not steeped in understanding everything Agri, but this is a channel and an opportunity for you guys to make this your own and really drive more than hype, but outcomes to be accountable to.